New or good evening, everybody. This is noting a of a quorum. I will call the Boxborough Select Board meeting to order. Um, so for our announcements, residents are advised the Select Board will be conducting their meetings virtually via Zoom through March of 2022. Public meetings may be broadcast live, streaming live, or recorded for later playback on BXB-TV and/or the internet. By attending, the audience consents to being photographed, filmed, and/or otherwise recorded by BXB-TV. Attendees of all public meetings should be aware of Massachusetts recording laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, if they're personally considering recording any part of the meeting, in part or in its entirety. Is anybody, just for sanity check, is anybody recording? Nope. Okay, wonderful. So the special town meeting warrant was mailed to residents, and you should have received it. If not, it's posted on the town's website, and there are additional copies at Town Hall. And we will be posting additional information on the town's website and social media going forward. Please contact the select board with any questions you might have. The fiscal year annually 23 budget development process is underway. All committee meetings are open to the public and currently being provided via Zoom. Go to the town's website to find the meeting calendar as well as the calendar of the committees that you are interested in. The town's annual town meeting is on Monday, May 9th, 2022. This year we're actually before Acton, so that's cool. Also, nomination paper is also now available for this year's May 17th annual town elections. For more information, go to town clerk's webpage or contact her through email or phone. The annual street listing census was mailed to residents in January. Please review, correct as necessary, sign and return them promptly to the town clerk. Voters not completing their census will be put on the inactive voter list. Please contact the town clerk, Becky Harris, if you have not received your census form or if you have any questions. Additionally, the dog license application was included, as well as a Veterans Affairs survey. And so if you belong to either of those, please fill those out. Additionally, dog owners are reminded that they can also apply online. The application is due back to the town clerk by April 1st. That's not a joke. Though the latest numbers are tracking downward, COVID continues to be a concern. In an effort to balance providing services while protecting residents and staff at town, has implemented updated protocols for interactions at town facilities. Visitors are being asked to wear a face covering and to practice social distancing while in all town buildings and vehicles. Residents are encouraged to continue to use this online options available to access and request services and to process payments. Click on the online payments button on the town's homepage or the department's webpage. More information on COVID-19 it will be posted on the town's homepage. Additionally, there's a winter parking ban. We do have snow and ice on the roads now, and I'm pretty sure that I jinxed the Winterfest, and I'm sorry to everybody. I was looking forward to it. Any notifications as to weather-related closures of town facilities will be posted on the homepage of the town's website, and the town also has several job opportunities available. We're looking for the following positions: an administrative assistant, department assistant, video production technician, part-time senior library assistant, and a meeting recording secretary. To learn more, go to the employment opportunities under quick links. Additionally, we're in an effort to make improvements to our community. The town is seeking residents' input via 2 community surveys. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee is asking to better understand the needs of the community, as well as the Sargent Memorial Library is developing a strategic plan to shape services for the next 5 years. Your input is valuable to both of these. And they will help them prioritize their goals. Go to their respective web pages for more information to access the survey links. Additionally, the town is very appreciative to the people who are serving on various boards and committees. We also still need people to serve on boards and committees, and the specific committees, the finance committee is in need of members, as well as the personnel board and the Affordable Housing Trust, Economic Development Committee, and the planning board needs an associate member. The public celebrations and ceremonies committees needs members, as well as the recreation committee. And lastly, a special announcement, I guess an employee celebration. For those who don't know, Ray-Jean is now engaged. So I would like to extend a large congratulations to him, and we are so happy for you. Life choices were made, and I'm sure he's happy with them. Lastly, the select board meetings have a large number of topics and issues that must be discussed and deliberated by the board, and we ask that residents hold their comments until the board has had the opportunity to get their questions answered. Due to time constraints, the board may not be able to accommodate comments from all residents on all topics, but we will try. And please wait to be recognized by the chair before before addressing the board. And we ask that participants be respectful and civil, and thank you for understanding. Okay. So then on to, I saw the payroll was approved. And
Yes.
so moving on to the minutes, we have minutes for an open session or
Wes,
for
excuse
November.
me.
Yep.
I have my hand raised.
I'm sorry.
The Massachusetts Municipal Association webinars are wonderful, but what they do is they tend to just make you aware of all the rules and regulations that have been recently imposed. And one of those under Zoom meetings is that the chair needs to call the roll and everyone identify on the board and identify themselves as being present. So I just wanted to make you aware of that lovely new regulation.
Thank you. So then I guess in lieu of that, we will open the meeting and take a roll call vote for presence. Diana, you can start us off.
Aye.
John Markowitz.
John Markowitz, aye.
Les Fox.
Present. I noticed the planning board's been doing this regularly with our meetings I've said it, so thanks for letting us know, Diana.
Yes. And then Jennifer.
I am here.
And then folks is present as well. Okay. Thank you, Diana. I thought you were so when I saw you raise your hand. Oh, Jennifer now has her hand raised.
Oh, yeah, it's about the minutes. I was jumping
Okay.
the gun.
Because Diana raised her hand during when I announced that Rajon was engaged, so I thought you were just like the clapping hands, so I missed it. Sorry. John, yes.
Yeah, no,
Or is
I
this
have a
about the
question on the
minutes, too?
minutes. Yep.
Okay, so does anybody are the questions, I guess, about the 29th, the 13th, or the 27th, or the 3rd?
29.
Because okay,
29th.
okay, so then I guess, okay, we can go through these one by one. Then. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the November 29th, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, discussion / comments.
Yeah, I had a comment on the third page of the minutes under select board governance. It's where I announced that I would be stepping down as chair, and it says that I will continue to serve as a board member, and then the next sentence says his resignation, and I think it says it should be changed. I didn't resign. It should be changed. Should be said. I think it's easier to say that this change, in other words, my stepping down, this change in role will be effective upon the adjournment of this meeting. That's a change I propose.
You accept those changes, Jennifer? That's your motion? Okay.
That's not my motion, but
Or
I
no, you
accept
moved it. It was so moved.
yes, I accept those changes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then I have another change.
Okay,
And that is under Grange Improvement Funds on page 7 of the warrant of the packet. I actually didn't say that I wanted to consider hiring a sound engineer to further the project along. I believe that was Diana. Is that sound right, Diana?
That's correct. Yes,
So
I
we
did
just
pick that up.
the
Good for you.
party would like to consider hiring a sound engineer.
Right.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, so those
so-
two changes are written up.
Okay.
So then we'll modify or to update your motion to say as amended.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Any other comments about those ones? Nope. Okay, great. We'll do roll call vote. John?
What's aye?
Les?
Fox eye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Harry, aye.
And folks aye. Okay. And then I'll entertain a motion to approve the December 13th open session, 2021 open session minutes.
So
Make a
moved.
motion. Okay. Seconded.
Okay, somebody had comments on these ones?
Yeah, I do actually under citizens' concerns. The discussion regarding Abby Reep's comments. I just feel that, putting it out there as allegations is not completely correct. And the wording should say unsubstantiated allegations, in my opinion, because they're coming out as being, I know allegations are just allegations, but I feel like we're revisiting a topic that in writing that probably shouldn't have been revisited at all in the first place orally. So I'm not quite sure how to solve that problem without striking the whole paragraph, but I don't know. I'm welcome to hear other people's points on this.
Could we say accusations or something else? I mean, allegations, I agree, sounds a little, official.
Yeah. Accusation sounds better.
So I just need to know, point one, Diana, because there's several speaking points that is attributed to Abby.
It's the first one. Unfortunately, I didn't print out that page, but it's right in the very first paragraph under citizens' concerns.
Okay, so the first paragraph states, Abby Reep stated she's speaking as a concerned citizen, not as a member of the personnel board. She spoke to concerns regarding the treatment.
That's the paragraph. So rather than reading it again, accusations, perhaps that is a better way to deal with it.
Instead of
allegations.
Okay, and just so you know, I just figured I'd give you guys a different flavor. I had the meeting secretary do this set of minutes. She formats differently than I do. And so I just wanted to give you, because there was some conversations about different way to format minutes. So this is a sample of what she can provide if you like that going forward.
It seemed pretty clear to me. I didn't really know there was a change because I always liked your minutes, Cheryl. So
thank you.
What can I say?
Okay, so is the change to
And that was my
accusations?
motion, and I accept that modification.
Okay. Are there any other comments or concerns? I'm sorry if you hear feral children in the background. It's bedtime. Okay, so then hearing no other comments or concerns, we'll do roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, aye.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And Folks, aye. Okay. So I didn't hear any issues with the other two, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the December 27th, 2021 open session and January 3rd, 2022 open session minutes.
So moved. Nope. I'll second then.
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion about these? Nope. Okay. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, aye.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And Folks, aye. Okay. And then we have Carter. I don't think there's any new staff to introduce just yet. Nope. Okay. And then
Not this evening.
okay. Citizens' concerns. Do we have concern? Okay, so Becky Neville shoots to the front. I'm guessing this. Okay, Becky.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm speaking as a private citizen tonight on my own behalf. I'd like to summarize an email I sent you on January 30th. On the evening of January 28th, Mr. Ballard began one of his usual rants on the Town Center Facebook page about the police. The difference, this time he tagged 3 of you. He tagged Mr. Folks, Mr. Markowitz, and Ms. Lepari. Multiple times he referred to Chief Ryder as being suspended, when in fact he was placed on paid administrative leave, and it was not intended to be punitive, just create space while any investigations are resolved. This wrong information needs to be corrected. Since I sent this email, Jennifer Campbell did reach out to say she had also been tagged but had untagged herself. Since the Town Center site has 604 members all reading this misinformation or alternative facts, it seems important to correct the record there. It's been 8 days since I sent this email, and as of this afternoon, all 3 of you are still tagged in these posts. It is shameful and embarrassing. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not even a member of that Facebook group, and as I responded to you, the select board has already made a statement through the town administrator, and it would be not appropriate at this time to make any further statements regarding that. Okay, any other concerned citizens? Okay. Then moving on, we have the Chief Philibrown and the acceptance of the FY 2022 Public Safety Grant Funds. Chief Philibrown, are you ready to roll?
Yes, yes, I am, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having me on board. I believe in your packet, you have a piece of paper in front of you. We were awarded $12,626.39 from the Department of Fire Safety, Executive Office of Public Safety for equipment grant. Some of the items we'll be purchasing are going to be bringing all the members, full-time and part-time, personal safety lights. We'll also be getting some much-needed highway safety equipment. Replacing some, looking to get some battery-powered scene lighting, getting away from the gas, and updating some ice rescue equipment. So it was a good grab. I want to thank the grant team. I got a good group of people: Firefighter Derek Drubo, Captain Jason Malinowski, and everyone knows my admin that I share with DPW, Linda Collins, is a big part of all the programs we offer and receive. So very pleased with this funding, and it'll serve the town very well. So.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns?
Congratulations, Chief. Thanks for doing that with your team.
Yep. Thank you. So. All right.
Okay, so I think I'm still the liaison, so I will move to accept the grant of funds to the Boxborough Fire Department from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant Program in the amount of $12,626.39.
Second.
Okay, any other comments or discussion? Okay, we'll do roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And folks, aye. Thank you again, Chief. And
Thank you. All right, everyone, have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
All right. Be good to those kids.
They're feral. I can hear them brushing their teeth right now. So we also have Ed Kukula with the, he got a grant for the Department of Public Works. Is Ed on? Let me just look at the list. He's not here. I don't know if he's planning on showing up. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. We can, or Carter or Rajan, I don't know if you want us to move over this and wait for him to come to present it, or we can just do it.
I'm not sure that Ed was going to be with you tonight, but it's $750 from the Sustainable Recovery Program. It will be used to try to improve recycling systems and information about recycling, and more importantly, reduce and reduction over recycling. At the transfer station, he's not identified exactly how to use it just yet, but you could accept it in keeping with his memorandum, because the requirement of statute is to vote to accept the grant amount and the purpose for which it's expended.
Okay. Diana, do you want to make this motion for us?
Sure. Vote to accept the grant of funds to the Department of Public Works from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, the Mass DEP, Sustainable Recovery Program, Municipal Grant Program in the amount of $750.
Good.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any comments? Questions, concerns?
I just want to say that they're doing a great job with the Black Earth program at the
I
transfer
love
station.
that. That's like half the weight of my trash.
Me too.
Yeah, I'd really like to see like a few extra buckets there as well. Like maybe we'll get like a dumpster one day, but who knows? Okay, then we'll do roll call vote. John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Jennifer,
Campbell, I.
Diana,
Lepari, aye.
and folks aye. Okay, moving on. Becky Harris. Becky here. Okay, Carter.
So as I've done previously and will be done from time to time, the town clerk did consult with the State Ethics Commission and erring on the side of caution, urged her to submit this form, which she has. The actual motion would be on the determination page, and such that the motion we would encourage you to take is that the board has determined that the financial interest of the employee is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the municipality may expect from the employee. And I think you can see that with her limited interactions as a member of this nonprofit public interest group, that you, I think, would be able to safely make that determination.
Can somebody still move that?
So moved.
Oh, second.
Okay, is there any discussion? I would just like to say thank you, Rebecca, for being proactive and getting this handled. I think it's important, especially in terms of transparency. So thank you. Is there any other comments, questions, concerns? Nope. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And folks aye. Okay, great. And then we have Miss Kangas presenting the Community Gardens Municipal Property proposed for development of Whitewood Ponds. Would you like to take us away? Hopefully not too far.
Jean doesn't leave Boxborough.
Hold on, trying to put the unmute.
Unmute.
There we go. We're good.
There we go. Okay. Well, actually, we bring two issues before you. I don't know why only one has been published on the agenda. But the two are our proposal for a new walking trail on the most southern 11 acres of Steel Farm, and the need to begin phase 2 of the stabilization of the farmhouse. As for the walking trail, this trail was proposed in the Steel Farm Management Plan that was prepared for the town by graduate students of the Sustainable Landscape Planning and Design program at the Conway School in 2015. The town paid $6,000 for that plan. The proposed trail, the White Pine Woods Trail, is an almost half-mile loop, and it connects to the present Red Trail on the abutting town-owned conservation land. It passes through existing openings in the old stone wall on the Steel Farm property. I went before the Boxborough Conservation Trust, Commission. The trust has pledged volunteers to help design and build the trail at no cost to the town. We met with the Conservation Commission to discuss the new trail, and they have no jurisdiction, they said, and no problem with it. And the new trail will open up about a third of the farm that's never before been available to the public. So we want your approval for that. The second thing, and I don't know why it wasn't on the agenda as such, but is phase 2 of the stabilization of the farmhouse. And this phase will complete the repair of the outside envelope of the 1784 Levi Weatherby steel farmhouse. You probably remember that phase 1 was completed in 2018 at a cost of the town of about $325,000. And at that time, the Foxborough Historical Society raised almost $150,000, including a $50,000 earmark.
I just want to like caution you that you're free to talk about it, but there can't be any deliberation on this second one about the stabilization. We can add it to our next meeting, and we can have further
okay.
discussion if you'd like, and we can do that.
Well,
But just since it's not posted on the agenda, if you'd like to give a preview, feel free to do so.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that idea, Wes. But we'll get on the next agenda. But basically, we sort of want to let you know that time is up. It's time to move forward on phase 2. And that's it. And I'll present phase 2, that issue, at a future select board meeting.
Okay. Let me just write it down real quick. Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
The Pinewoods Trail?
The trail.
Yeah, just to reassure everybody else, that would not necessarily incur any cost to the town. It's more of because the town technically owns that land, just adding, I don't want to say like an easement, but in a way of just allowing people to access that area of it would be mainly the modification. This would be modified maintained not necessarily by DPW, like over the long term, as not to incur additional costs, but through the other organizations in town that maintain the town's trails.
Right. That's correct. And but we wanted to come to you with this because we keep firmly in mind that the Steel Farm Advisory Committee is an advisory committee to the select board.
Okay, great. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the access through the Community Gardens municipal property for proposed development of the Pinewoods Trail.
So moved.
Move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion about this?
My dogs, thank you.
I think this is going to be great for the town to have additional access to the steel farm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also just a gentle reminder to everybody, make sure you wear tick repellent. Don't get Lyme disease. It's not fun. Outside of that, any other comments or questions?
Nope.
Okay, great. We'll do a roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
And Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And folks, aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Thanks,
get
Gene.
started. We'll get started when the weather permits.
Wonderful. Hopefully not the sheet of ice that's coming tonight into tomorrow. Be careful, everybody. So then we have Jennifer with the Grange Room improvements.
So this is just a continuation of the discussion that we started, I guess it was November 29th. And basically where we started with the discussion was that there were a few acoustic tiles put in the ceiling in the Grange Room as part of the discussion, or part of the improvement that was budgeted at town meeting. So the proposal was to continue with some installation of the ceiling tiles, which apparently have been helping, although we haven't been able to test the room very much. And then also do some framing of some art that had been specifically picked out by the Grange and So I know Cheryl has been working on this. So Cheryl, feel free to jump in if I'm not explaining anything right. The Grange, the Historical Society, all of those things. Included in the packet is a letter from Becca Edson, who is a resident and also was the architect on the project. So we're way under budget on what has been budgeted. But basically, I was asked to do a little bit more research before we agreed to go forward with continuing the acoustic ceiling tile installation and with the framing of the projects. All of that is estimated to be a couple $1,000s, which is way under what we still have budgeted. The ceiling tiles apparently are very inexpensive, and I believe Becca had actually installed them herself. And there haven't been any ordered, but she can do that quickly. And the framing of the art is something those were carefully chosen. I don't know, Cheryl, if you have more information on that. But basically, I was asked to do a little bit more research. I looked at, the contract, which of course doesn't specify, and now you're going to frame these two pieces of art. So I feel like this is a good completion of the project before we take another step, which might be to hire an acoustic engineer or a sound engineer to maybe do some further research.
So there are, thank you, Jennifer, for staying on top of this. There are, though, some components that are infrastructure related that there is some concern that going forward on, the art and the tiles, the art was part of the original proposal. However, there are several pieces that still are outstanding on the punch list. And I'll let if Kirby would like to jump in, because these are technical concerns. And there's also items like there's shadow boxes in the entry way that need to be hung. So we're happy to, have a conversation with Becca and put together an actual punch list before you guys move forward with any additional changes to the original scope.
So I would also think that if there's also opportunities to maybe that don't necessarily, I guess, interfere with the original intention, but maybe upgrade them, I think that those are opportunities that we should also explore as well, since we're coming in under budget, apparently. And so if there's like a material purchase that we can buy, similar to like maybe since we initially started the project, they developed better acoustic ceiling panels, and they're available. That's something that we could explore that's not necessarily conflicting with the original intent of it. And if we're under budget as well there, and just things like that, I think that we could explore. But Diana, you have a comment?
I understand that this was the project as it was originally constituted, but I have talked to a sound engineer. I do have a proposal that is put in by a sound engineer with specific suggestions. Hold on just a minute. Sorry, did that come up? I thought I put me on mute. He was talking on the phone in the other room. Anyway, what I would propose is, and by the way, that proposal included a large portion of it had to do with ceiling tiles. So I would hate to see something be put in and then ripped out because there was a better alternative or it would work better. So perhaps the thing to do going forward is to have a meeting and talk about all the particular options before any decisions are made. Just so that we get clarification on the way forward. Whether we use this particular money for that, it is another question. So because we have ARPA funds also available. So that's what I would propose, so that we can all kind of talk about the alternatives and really work on moving forward in a way which works for everyone.
Okay. So no, I think that's a decent idea. So I guess Cheryl also had a proposal of just putting together more of like a final punch list, and I think that that's a means where we can also loop in with Diana and to see what things may either be overlapping and or how we can at least carry out the initial intent and leave us open for possible expansions and or further investments for the quality of that room, if that's agreeable to everybody.
It's
Yep.
agreeable to me. I would make sure to include the original stakeholders in the room, which included the Grange and included Becca, who donated much of her time for this. So, and I think Cheryl has a lot invested in this as well. So if there's a way to create a punch list that works, that we can discuss, that's fine with me.
We'll work
John?
on putting together the group to talk about it.
John?
And I just wanted to say that, there's consensus that we need to make some improvements. There's consensus that there seems to be some money available. There also seems to be a number of options. We have a punch list, or we don't have a punch list, but I think there's a punch list in Cheryl's mind, at least, that we can get on paper. And I do think that and I've worked with Becca on other projects. She does a fantastic job. So getting the relevant parties together, getting everyone on the same page and moving forward just makes sense. Thanks.
Cheryl? You're muted, Cheryl.
The other qualifier Diana mentioned is ARPA. And I know that Rajan and Carter had received submissions from several people, Diana included. So we also need to keep that in the back of our minds, that if we have proposals that we want to implement, we need to make sure that we are able to implement them in the Grange room and whatever facilities we end up finalizing to close out this article.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? And thank you, Jennifer, for following up on that. Okay. So moving on to the next item, and I think that's why everybody's, Les?
Yeah, well, since somebody mentioned ARPA funds, I just wanted to ask what Carter and Rajan's opinion is. I'm looking at our spend plan that we discussed at the 24th of January. And there's a line in there called facility HVAC at space for about $150,000. Would some of that money certainly be available to use to help address the Grange acoustic problem?
None of that money was slated for that purpose whatsoever. That money was to do HVAC analysis of the several buildings and then possible improvements related to those. In the reorganization for the Office of Land Use and Permitting. We've also identified it as possibly being needed at the police station for recent hires and separation of folks there. It was our understanding and belief that there were going to be sufficient monies within what was on hand in the Grange and what was the slimmed down I think at the end of the day, maybe $200,000 set aside for capital investment in BXB-TV and the technology to improve meeting recording and broadcasts. If there are not sufficient monies in that $200,000, and Jennifer would have a better handle on how much money's left in the Grange budget itself.
According to the last sheet I saw, it says $46,000.
Yeah, so we got $246,000 for this package of investment of in BXB-TV, the finishing up the Grange room for you and this technology. If there isn't enough money in that 246, we can look next to see if there is going to be any money left in the building HVAC and any physical changes there. And if there isn't enough money there and there's still things left to be done, we did leave a contingency of, I believe, $86,000 for the whole program. So I'm certainly hopeful that we can get it done within the 246. But if not, I think there's some maneuvering room. A long way around saying there were no specific dollars allocated out of the 150,000 towards the Grange room list. But I do believe there's.
Well, you've sort of answered my question indirectly. I mean, I was taking Diana's observation to indicate that perhaps there's lots of flexibility to find money to address the acoustics problem. It sounds like that isn't necessarily so until we sharpen the pencil and see what's left in the original allocation and what's left in the other lines that we've now appropriated or authorized.
Well, all of these partners have a lot of flexibility within $246,000.
Yeah.
I don't think it had been our intent to open the purse strings larger. Certainly no one had indicated there was a need to open it larger than that. I think we could start first things first. Let's get the sound engineer and the architect on the ceiling panels. That's the cheapest, easiest fix. The second piece becomes the artwork. The sound guy is going to tell you don't hang the artwork. I'm going to say figure out how to put your acoustic panels around the artwork, or put the acoustic panels on the wall and then hang the artwork. I think there's plenty of room here to get done what everybody wants to get done once everyone's in the room and can agree, of course. Of that.
Well, I hope so. I just want to make sure that, we don't run off thinking, oh, we have tons of money, but just be careful and do this right.
Well, I think you got good people that all want to end up with an improved product, and I think there's substantial flexibility there. And just get them in the room and talk them out. And I'm sure they can come to some agreement that will work.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, are we moving on to the next, if we're moving on to the next item, unless somebody wants to speak to that first?
Okay, that was my plan. I was gonna let Carter take it. Kirby, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just respectively request that I be part of that conversation, because there's been a lot of discussion about ARPA things, which don't really fall into broadcast, for one. And I would respectively request that folks really understand what the problem is you're trying to solve before you start pulling in engineers. Because truthfully, we're broadcasting in lots of different locations in Littleton, and they are conference rooms. So my question back to you guys rhetorically is, what's the problem you're trying to solve? We're not trying to make this into a music hall. So let's just keep it focused if we could. And I would appreciate being included in the conversation. Thank you.
Carter, do you want to talk about the?
Wes, excuse me, I have something I'd like to say before Carter jumps in on this article. I also consulted with the Ethics Commission regarding any possible conflict of interest regarding the Sargent Road property, because I live in the neighborhood. And I was advised I am not an abutter or an abutter to an abutter. I live on Littlefield Road, and my concern was that this parcel opens, has an access to Littlefield Road, and I just wanted to have, in an abundance of caution, an opinion. And so the opinion was that simply filing a form, an appearance of a conflict of interest form, which is what I did today with Becky Harris. I sent it to her, and because I am part of the appointing authority, the only thing that I need to do is to inform people verbally that I have filed this form. So that's my declaration. And I affirmed that I could be fair and honest in adjudicating this matter. So just to make that clear to everyone.
Because I think the select board will also then have to accept that as well at a future meeting. So, but I don't see a problem with that. Carter?
You have been delivered notice of potential sale of lands that are currently under Chapter 61A, then being converted to a non-Chapter 61 purpose, and you have a right of first refusal. However, step one is to determine whether, or two parallel steps, if you will. One, while you're determining whether or not the town has interest, you should also be determining whether or not the notice is proper under the statute. The Conservation Commission took the initiative, and I thank them for that. to consult with a knowledgeable counsel in this area. You do not have a formal process, and that is something I think I pointed out to you. We're starting with Marian Edwarski, and we'll work with the relevant commissions on that. And we've sent you a draft letter Saturday morning, and then later today, once I had all the final addresses and everything. And the notice is found to be deficient. That is to say that a proper notice cannot have considerable contingencies within it. It needs to be a true, here, we'll buy it, you'll sell it, here's the price. In this instance, counsel advises that there are two contingencies that make the notice non-compliant with statute. The first contingency is that the buyer receive A&R, approval not required, plans. They're submitted to the planning board. Planning board looks at it and says, yep, this is not a subdivision. It has road frontage. And so our approval is not required. Their approval is not required is kind of ironic, but it is a legal process, and John would know much more about this than I. The second is that there are additionally perk tests, Board of Health, and the like. So when a notice is deficient, you have the first 30 days in which you can advise the seller of this. And what that basically means is the clock never started until such time as they submit new notice that is compliant with statute. So we've provided you with two draft motions. The first one was a motion that would authorize me to send the letter to counsel and for the property owner and the property owner that their notice is deficient, explaining why, and requiring that they submit new notice. The second one would start a process at our end to make sure that we aren't sitting back and waiting for that notice, but we're using the time between now and any new notice wisely to be better prepared for a subsequent notice that perhaps would comply with statute. Happy to answer any questions, and hopefully that's not too confusing when I talked approval of an approval not required plan.
So Lisa, I do see your hand up, but I'm going to take the board first. I do have one comment. So if we send this notice of deficiency, does that prevent us from putting a warrant article on the annual town meeting, so coming up in May, to take any action or relative thereto? I understand that this would cause a likely be raise and appropriate, and not necessarily a free cash or other means of funding. Otherwise, we would likely have to have a special town meeting for this one item as well at a future date. So is that?
I think that constructing the warrant article would be relatively tricky because you wouldn't necessarily be operating under the right of first refusal at the time that you issued the warrant. But I think we could construct something that would work, that would meet the board's desires. Might take a draft or two or three to get it just right. But I'm confident we could come up with something if that's your wish.
Okay. We have John and then Jennifer.
Yeah, so Carter, I haven't seen the latest draft today, but the previous draft of the letter that you sent out on Saturday, I think because there was a letter that was sent to us on the 11th of January, we should, and I know that wasn't, didn't have everything that was required. I think we should also reference that letter so that we just cover our bases for the town to make sure that we're protected in terms of any kind of dates that we might miss. And thanks for catching the fact that that they did not follow the letter of the law in terms of the purchase being contingent upon a number of items. I thank the Conscom for doing that. I know other members in town have spoken to me about that issue. And yes, approval not required is a misnomer. Okay, there is a requirement for approval. It's just not completely. It's very confusing, but I do think that we should do what we can to try to protect the property and to make sure that it's done properly and let them know that they haven't done it properly so far.
Carter, do you want to respond to that? Hands up.
We can do that. We'll just need to wordsmith it a little bit. Council wanted to make sure that we were referring to the latest notice, so that
Okay.
there could be no confusion of which was the proper notice of the two. And to reference the initial January 11, we're bumping right up against it. But I think we could try, if that's the board's pleasure, John, we could try to wordsmith something in the morning.
I think, Carter, I'm just concerned that I want to make sure that there's no way that they can even consider that we think that the 11th was a proper filing, but that we're aware of it. We want to make sure that we're aware of it, but we don't consider it proper.
I have some wording percolating in my head. We could do something. This draft was with the advice of council, but I think we could do something to address your concern.
Okay, thank you, Carter.
Jennifer, and then Les.
Yeah, I'm going to be brief. I want to do this, but I want to do it right. And I guess I'm just concerned about muddying the waters by having it be, bringing up the contingency and making sure that we're, I don't know. I just feel like it might be better if we just went ahead and made a decision rather than going back to them and saying, you didn't do this right or you didn't do that right. I feel like we might have enough information to make a decision without all of that.
I would agree, but I also don't think they're necessarily mutually exclusive. We can take two avenues and also be ahead of them. So,
okay.
Or unless I'm wrong, Carter.
Actually, that I think is the intent of our second draft motion that we submitted to you. It's been my sense of my conversation with board members that had this notice not been deficient, it would have wanted to exercise the right of first refusal. So by sending out the notice of deficiency, you're buying yourself, making sure you're holding people to the letter of the law, especially should another parcel come along with a notice that's deficient. And then the question becomes, well, how come you're doing it with this one, not with the prior? But the second motion is intended to move forward, to do all that legwork that you would have to do anyways, especially if you want to try to put this on a annual town meeting warrant. It'll position you much better informed, creating those partnerships and the like. So that was the intent, was to take advantage of this added time and do all the legwork you'd have to do anyways. Again, it's the board's pleasure.
Did that answer your question, Jennifer, or your comments? Okay. Les?
Sorry, I'm not sure. I never saw the second letter that the town received that was apparently also deficient. But it is, to echo John's comment and making sure we haven't left any gaps here, I believe the deadline for us to notify the seller that their first notice was deficient is actually February 10th, which is coming up soon. So just want to make sure we're not going to miss a subsequent deadline that's following on the heels of that. I can't recall Carter's motion that's going to try to address all of that, but just want to be mindful of the deadlines. And to Wes's point, I would think we should be able to craft some kind of a motion that would give us the authority to raise funds to acquire the property or do other things, as the case may be. And then if those things don't happen, just pass it over.
Carter?
So the second notice was their admitted attempt to try to cure the deficiency in the first notice. They thought their deficiency was the manner of delivery. And so that was kind of some of the wording that was percolating in my head as John asked me. We would reference the January 11th notice, which they attempted to cure with their January whatever it was, 21st notice. So I think we can get that done in that manner. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I just would hate to have them make us spin our wheels by sending an endless succession of improper notices. We're forcing us to respond each time rather than something that's more efficient. So.
Carter?
I don't think they would do that, but should they choose to, that's your obligation to respond. If you do not respond, the clock starts. This is your opportunity, in sports language, I guess, to throw a flag on the play and to stop the clock. Meanwhile, you can be strategizing on the sidelines. You've all seen the TV ads with the chalkboards or real live games. I think that this, I would really encourage you to look on the plus side of this.
Yeah, I am. Just to be really clear, if we in fact received a deficient notice, is there any obligation for us to tell the proponent that their notice was deficient, or just go ahead with the assumption that if we're challenged, we'll point out that it was deficient, which should be obvious on inspection by people who know what they're doing?
Well, I think that this flows to the issue of not having a formal procedure and policy for you to handle this. Step one is send it to the lawyer, make sure it's a sufficient notice. Step two is send it to all the boards involved. And it is to your detriment to not send them the notice.
Right.
Because the clock starts immediately. Well, the clock starts if you don't send them the notice. So if you're willing to not take that step and then 45 days in decide, oh, geez, we wish you had more time. Well, you gave that card away. There's a process in statute. I think that you need to work through. Marion Naglarski's working on it now. We'll put some drafts together, work with the planning board, Concom, and local land trusts and such to try to have a good, clear, concise process. But you're really giving away a lot of your leverage and time if you don't send the notices, should the notice be deficient.
Yep.
John?
Yeah, so just to clarify, I mean, Les, if you haven't seen the letter, so the letter of January 21st from the applicant states that they recognize that their letter of January 11th, they say, was insufficient because it didn't have a properly marked and certified purchase and sale or true copy. I think that's very important for us to send a letter to them immediately. I think we can easily add another sentence or just a note that we've also received your letter of January 11th, 2022, which you recognize as incomplete. And, based on that letter and the letter we received on the 21st, we find that you have not followed the statute, whatever legal counsel says, but I strongly believe we should send a letter immediately because that stops the clock, okay? And that gives us the time to do what we need done. And it also forces them to come back with following the letter of the law that basically says, look, you can't do this with a purchase and sale agreement with contingencies. That's not how this works, okay? It'd be nice to have. I'm sure you'd want it, but that's not how it works. And so we're saying, you go back to square one, and when you're ready, come back to us. And then that gives us time to deal with issue number 2, which is in terms of how do we deal with the formalizing our process in town, which appears to be broken. I think those are the 2 things that we're trying to get taken care of. So we can have continued discussion, but at some point I would like to make a motion that we move forward with submitting a letter to the applicant, letting them know that they're not in compliance And when they're ready, they can come back to us, meeting the state statutes. And that would be the first motion that I would like to make when we're ready.
Okay.
I'll second
Diana?
that whenever we're ready
Yes.
for it.
Yes,
So
I,
we can take discussion then. So Diana?
yes, I actually would like to make the motion, here.
Well, we have
and-
one on the table that's seconded.
Oh, we did?
already.
Oh, okay. You
So
did
John
it?
did.
I didn't hear that. Okay. But I did want to say that I think it's very, very important that the town follow the procedure of having a deficient notice, because it is definitely true. We don't want to move forward with other possible properties that might come forward and not follow the same procedure. It's really important that we do that. So I think it's very important that we send this letter and we send it as quickly as possible so that the applicants, the potential buyer and the potential seller get notice about the deficiency and then move forward with our own process towards purchasing the property. It seems to be the general consensus here. So I very strongly support this.
Lisa, thank you for being so patient. Hold on. And then we'll go to Cheryl.
Oh, there we go. Took a few times. Okay, well, thank you. For what it's worth, I've been following this tiny notice issue very closely, and I would just echo John's thought that the letter would best serve the purposes by including in it something about that January 11th notice of intent, saying, you know, we understand the seller has rescinded it or something like that, just so that that issue is covered. It just seems like it's a loose end that's out there. So I think John's proposal sounds spot on.
Okay. Cheryl?
I just needed to know if someone had seconded. Was it Diana? You
It
got
was
a little-
Jennifer.
It was
Jennifer.
Jennifer. All right, thank you.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? Nope. Okay. Then we'll do roll call vote. Diana?
Lepari, aye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
And Les?
Fox eye.
And Folks, aye. Okay. And then
So, Wes, may
that was
I?
part one. Yep. Diana? That
Yeah.
was part one in your subsequent motion.
Yes, I'd like to move, I move to direct the town administrator to investigate title and value issues and potential partners or assignees for the acquisition of the property at 95-105 Sergeant Road and report back at his first opportunity.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Carter? Oh, Jennifer?
Yeah, I really was, when we first heard about this opportunity, it was right after the tax bills went out, and I thought, well, great, more tax revenue. And now we've heard from a lot of different boards and multiple residents, and I feel like if we're not going to listen to them, what are we doing here? So I'm going to support us purchasing this or doing whatever we need to do.
And just for clarification for the public, Chapter 61 land is actually taxed at a separate rate than agriculture, residential, and business. And so the hit to the tax base is, well, significantly lower than what it is, or we're just taking it off. But however, it would have been higher if there was agricultural, residential properties posted onto it. So, John?
Yeah, I wanted to thank all the citizens. At last count, there were almost 30 or even more citizens who wrote in expressing their support for this. I want to thank them for taking the time. I know it takes time to write letters. And it's very good, you know, like they say, once the land is gone, you can't get it back. So I think it's important for us to do the right thing, to bring this to town meeting if it fits the time frame, but to try to get something that we can get ready to take to town meeting. I think it's important for us to get a good process together. This has opened many of our eyes in terms of that some of us thought we had a formal process and we don't. So I think that's important for us to pull that together. And I also know that when these things come together, there have been other cases where we've worked with Sudbury Valley trustees, the BCT, the planning board, where the town was possibly going to purchase some land. And instead, those other entities came into play, and the bulk of the land was able to be saved. Walking trails were able to be put in place. Public access was saved. And there was also the ability to build 1 or 2 or 3 little lots that made it work. Okay, so there may be ways for this to be accomplished without the town spending money, or there may be ways for us to just spend a little less. But I think it's important for us to have Carter go forward, put together a process. I think it also opens a door for us to think as a board of some of the other policies we might want to be considering in the future. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on Diana's motion regarding asking the town administrator to start the other process? Nope. Okay. Then roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Kopari, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
And Folks, aye. Okay. On to the next one. Carter, do you want to take this one?
Wes, before we totally leave this topic, sorry to do this. We had the disclosure from Becky Harris. We discussed it. I don't remember whether we actually voted to accept that.
We did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Carter, do you want to do the interim contract?
Certainly. About 7 days ago or so, we received the resignation of the town accountant. We will, over the next few weeks, advertise the position and explore alternative options as well. Whether it's an intermunicipal agreement with another community, an accounting firm. We'll look at a variety of possibilities. However, at best, even if you had many applicants and found one that you truly liked, and I will caution you that last time around it took you 2 or 3 rounds of advertisement, and the application folder was thin. I think we would agree at best that you're probably 3 to 4 months out at best before you have a long-term solution. And yet their last day is Friday. So we had a couple of possibilities for the short term. One was to return to the accounting firm. I really don't think you can afford to do that again. And the number of hours that you get simply is not enough in my view. So I reached out to a couple of folks that I had some familiarity with that were either retired or doing this for other communities. First, foremost, I want to acknowledge even more publicly than perhaps I did, that I did work with the nominee up until October of 2020 on a regular daily basis, and now occasionally on projects from time to time. Ms. Kelly Pontbriand is a 7-year municipal Massachusetts accountant who has worked with 3 communities. One slightly larger than you, Templeton, around 8,500 people. Hubbardston's slightly smaller than you, around 4,500 to 5,000 people. And Phillipston, smaller yet, around 2,000 people. She has provided accounting services to those 3 communities separately and simultaneously. For those of you who know the history of Templeton, When she entered in 14, she had to completely reconstruct several years. You have nothing like that, but that is, kind of to, somebody said, why did you put, battle by or trial by fire or something? And I can't think of any better accounting example than to help turn that community around. She's familiar with the Vadar accounting system already and has a substantial network within that firm. And prior to the payroll system of paychecks being adopted in one of the communities she worked in, she had experience with Harper's. She would be the most seasoned member of the finance team, and I think able to provide some insight into the other two members as we bring them together and mold them as a new team. She's prepared to do this, for several months. It would be not to exceed basically 20 hours a week. We would jump into it with all fours tomorrow to develop a strategy to make this work. We have worked out with Linda Collins, who will go on to overtime to keep DPW and fire afloat as she steps in on AP days, if you will, to get all of those invoices input into the system. I think it is a reasonable interim solution as we cast about for a longer term solution. It's been broken into two pieces. I am respectfully requesting that you confirm my nomination of Kelly Pontbriand as interim town accountant. The second piece would be to ratify the contract, which is where the pay would be. In this instance, it's not a long-term contract. It is what we did with Mr. Cataldo as building inspector, because it's an interim position. It's a higher hourly rate than anything envisioned on your personnel plan, and we need a means to be able to pay them. It's $60 an hour, which is about half of what you were paying the finance firm. Mr. Kinsherf will probably not be happy. I think this is the third town where Kelly and I have displaced his services. Happy to answer any questions. We've given you her resume, and she's familiar with the Department of Revenue. The Director of Accounts, Ms. Deb Wagner, was previously the local representative from DOR to Templeton and these other communities. One of her references is your audit firm. Happy to answer questions as to why we're here. And I would stress again, this is intended to be a short-term solution to buy us that 3 or 4 months to try to bring a long-term solution to you.
Yeah, Carter, I think this is a very creative solution to a problem that we currently have. I've looked over her resume. I know that trying to reconstruct any kind of financial data, which I've done for doing audits for nonprofits and doing taxes, is never easy. So kudos to her for what she's done. The only question that I have is, because she's currently active in Templeton and Hubbardston, will she still have time for us?
She's doing about 20 hours a week for Templeton. When they received her resignation, they advertised and had no one suitable at their pay. So they worked out this remote solution with her. She's been, and I forget, I think that was January, February of 21. So it's been in place for about a year now. They're carrying it through at least the end of this fiscal year. Hubbardston, I think, is working around 10 to 12 hours a week.
Okay.
So she'll be working, beyond what some of us would like to do. But she has assured me that she has the time and the energy to take us on. If this was a permanent proposal, I think I'd probably have to talk with her about a better level of comfort I could give y'all. But I think in the short term, Not uncommon for many accountants and professionals to work that 45 plus or minus hour a week. You have salaried individuals now in Ed Kuka and Chief Phil Brown who do that schedule now. The other thing is that there's some flexibility as to when and how this gets done. It's not a rigid 8 to 5. You have to be in the office because you're dealing with the public. So I'm reasonably comfortable, John, that I can assure you she would has the time to do this.
Okay, and I know it's very difficult to find people. I mean, I looked back at the notes when we were trying to hire before and how long it took us and how many candidates we got. So I mean, I think this is a great idea for a short-term fix. Thanks, Carter.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I agree. It's a good short-term fix. I like the fact too that we're not draining our reserve funds, that we're actually able to use salary. That's correct, right?
It is. It's another reason for the personal services contract.
Yeah.
And not going 1099, because otherwise I'd have to go back to the finance committee to get a transfer.
Right. And some money that's already been appropriated and that's fine with me. One of my questions is, first of all, when are you going to, or I'm assuming you're going to keep advertising immediately for the permanent position?
Well, we'll start advertising within the next few days. We put the advertisements out for our greatest priority, which was the position in the treasurer collector's office in the rec position there on the special town meeting. And then I think within the next few days, we have work to do this week with the unions and for the finance committee tomorrow night. But I think you'll see that ad out by next Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you.
So we'll run parallel advertisements with looking at IMAs, looking at other solutions as well. We're not going to do them in a row. We're going to run a parallel course here.
Okay, and just also to confirm, she will be working remotely, correct?
Yes.
She's not local?
She is not local. She does come up once, I think twice a year for meetings, audit reviews, town meeting. She was up most recently for the special town meetings in Templeton. Had we known this, 2 months ago, you could have met her personally. And if she does come up during the course of this, we'll just make sure that she plans an extra day or two to be.
And you don't have concerns about her being able to do the work remotely?
It hasn't, there are a number of accounting firms that do it this way now. Okay. In fact, audits, I was surprised, many of the audit firms, they just want you to scan and send them everything. Yep. There's one community I work with where the auditors never even physically showed up. Given my druthers, would it be nice to just toddle across the hallway and shout the question in? Sure. But at least in the short term, I don't have a great deal of concern about this.
No, I mean, I've been working remotely for 20 plus years, so I know it can be done. I just didn't know in this particular circumstance. And just, is there any conflict of interest or with any of the department assistants with having them pick up some of the slack, with entering some of their invoices and then having them be working with the accountants?
We haven't moved to having departments directly enter there. That's certainly something we need to look at as part of the long-term solution. Can we, we're going to have to look at a variety of solutions, trying to hire IMAs with someone else, private accounting firm, half-time clerk there with department assistants in other departments doing the input. We'd have to buy new licenses for Vadar for them to do that remotely. We'd have to train them all. There are errors. You still have to back them up with an accountant. So there's a lot of different scenarios. I can tell you that when I discussed some of these at the finance committee the other night, there was pretty strong pushback of, no, we need to hear somebody physically. I think we'd all like that if that could work. But
well, I think on a permanent basis, it does need to, but all right. Thanks, Carter. You answered my question.
At this point, it would just be Linda Collins. She'll, do the invoices, and then whatever time we can't, that we steal from Ed and from Paul, we'll backfill with overtime. That'll
Okay.
still be cheaper than paying an accounting service to do your entries.
Any other questions from the board? No. Okay, Becky?
Thanks. Carter, I just want to know, we transferred $40,000 into that account line item just for the account service. It doesn't make sense to use that up instead of putting it in salary and maybe save the salary for, I know you would look at hiring the position a lot higher than what we already had and saving the salary in case we get somebody towards the end of the year.
Frankly, I just simply don't feel that you're going to find somebody and bring them in before the end of the year. But if we were to, depending upon how much of that RFT was burnt at this point, we certainly aren't going to get this done before May 1, which is the statutory transfer period.
Right.
And so should we have a permanent solution where we need to now push what we thought was going to be expense money back into the salary, I think we can do it through the FinCom and Select Board transfer process.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, John.
I was just going to make a motion
Okay.
pursuant to Interim Town Administrator Teranzini's recommendation, vote to appoint Kelly Portbrand.
Pontriand.
Can you say that again?
Pontriand. Yep, sorry.
Okay, as interim town accountant.
I second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Nope. Okay. Roll call vote. John?
Marco, it's aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
And folks, aye. Okay. John, do you want to do the other one then?
Yep.
As well?
Vote to authorize interim town administrator Teranzini to execute a contract with interim town accountant Kelly
Pompriand.
as presented.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion about this? Okay. We'll do John.
Marco, it's aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
And folks, aye. Okay. Thank you, Carter, and everybody else that was a part of that. And the next item is the town meeting in the fiscal year 2023 budget. So the first item is the special town meeting, health protocols, and other items.
So, Mr. Chairman, and I see that your moderator is with you. He and Ms. Harris and Cheryl and other members of your team have worked tireless to get that warrant fully cleaned up and approved and out in the mail. Make sure that the setups were workable for the anticipated attendees. However, this is not, the Board of Health has issued a face covering mandate, which is in effect as of today, but we don't know what February 28th might hold for us. It's not a public building, so the administrative order related to face coverings in public buildings does not comply. And we just wanted to check in with the board to see, irrespective of what the Board of Health might do, what your desires were with respect to face coverings at the town meeting, should the Board of Health revoke or amend their order. And the moderator thought it advisable to run this through you all.
I don't think we can supersede or prevent anybody from attending if the Board of Health revokes their mandate, as it's not our jurisdiction necessarily. And so my inclination would still be to have a strong recommendation regardless of whether or not the Board of Health keeps or rescinds theirs recommend or their order to wear a mask when not eating or drinking for the safety of others. Jennifer?
Yeah, I agree with that. I really want people to wear masks, but we have to respect what authority we have here. And if we don't have the authority, we don't. And we also want to make sure that we're not preventing anybody from participating in, the biggest democratic process we have in town. So.
Are there any other comments, questions? We have John, Diana, or Carter, I guess, maybe first, and then John, Diana, and then Kirby, or?
Okay.
I'll go last, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, John?
Yeah, no, Wes, the only thing I wanted to say was I'd strongly recommend that people would wear masks. I think we should we should state that. I think that's important. I think people should also know, I believe we're going to make sure that the chairs are adequately spaced inside the facility. So that's another way that people can feel safer as well. I think those are just making a recommendation and making sure that we have adequate spacing between the seats. I think that's all in our purview to do, and we should take care of that to encourage people to come to the meeting.
Okay, Diana and then Kirby.
Yeah, I also strongly agree that we should make this a very strong recommendation that people wear masks, regardless of the Board of Health's and mandate. But I also had a question as I looked on that diagram about where the rest of us would be sitting aside from the chair, whether we would be in the audience or as a board. Because I will tell you, the last town meeting was very uncomfortable sitting on chairs in the front without a table, but I didn't see our place anywhere on that diagram, so I just had that question.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
2 items. One, Diana, yes, you would be sitting in that front row, as would the Finance Committee, because there is limited real estate at the very front with those large projection screens. 2, the New England Stage Works will be working under the assumption that we are in full COVID protocols. If you don't have people wearing masks, then they have to deal with basically covering microphones and other items. So it's your choice. It's just, what the charge would be. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Carter?
I would just advise you that you do have the right to require masks if you want. It's your meeting. There are some things you couldn't require folks to do. So that aside for a moment, we could craft a statement that would be issued a week, 10 days before the meeting that speaks to the then current status of the Board of Health order. Something along the lines of be advised that currently exists under a Board of Health emergency order that face coverings are required in all places of public assembly, full stop. Notwithstanding that this order perhaps might be removed by the time of the meeting, the Boxborough Select Board urge maximum compliance with the use of face coverings. I mean, we could do something along those lines to try to acknowledge, put people on notice that at the time we write the document, there is an order in effect, acknowledges that perhaps that situation could change, but then urges the fullest possible compliance in the interest of your own safety and that of your neighbors and friends. I mean, we could craft something along those lines that I think sounds like it might get to where the select board would be.
I think that's a good idea. Cheryl?
Yeah, if you notice that diagram, there is in the far corners of the room, there is single seating, and we put that seating in place per se for those that are reluctant to comply with the conditions that you guys are discussing. So there is seating to address those voters that have concerns as to their personal preferences, so they can still attend and they can still participate. And that's it.
Okay. So then I guess I'll entertain a motion for, I guess, Carter and whoever else to draft a statement of the board expressing strong desire for compliance with a mask mandate to ensure the safety of fellow residents and staff who are attending.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Nope. Okay. We'll do roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
LaParrie, aye.
Us?
Fox eye.
And folks, aye. Okay, and then we have the budget. So I'm guessing, so part of this is the FinCom just trying to predict whether or not people, I think, or when preparing the budgets, if people are looking to take, oh, sorry, John Markowitz or John Fallon?
No.
John?
Sorry.
Yeah, Diana raised a very good point and nobody answered it. And the answer is based on this current layout, the select board and the finance committee would be in the front row. Now, if you wanted tables in front of you, that might be a possibility, but that's something you have to talk to Carter and Cheryl about. There is just no physical room to put the select board and the finance committee on risers in the front and maintain 6-foot distancing. You know, we physically measured that last year and it just will not work.
There.
For me, my concern, actually, John, was sitting there with facing the audience without a table because it was very awkward. If I'm sitting as part of the audience, that's fine.
Okay. You raised a legitimate point. I just did not want the discussion to go by without having your point handled in some
Thank
way.
you. I appreciate that.
I have no objections to people just being part of the audience in the front row and reserving it similar to how the Acton School Committee does, or the Acton Boxborough School Committee. John?
You know, I mean, Wes, so I've sat in the front row on my very first select board as my very first year at an annual town meeting as a select board member, and we were facing forward. And then last year we were facing the audience, and I know Diana has an issue, but I would prefer to face the audience to actually see what people are thinking as things are being discussed. And last year at the annual town meeting, the projectors were slanted in such a way, and we were seated in such a way in the front row that we could see the projectors and see the audience. And I would prefer to do that. I don't necessarily, I mean, we can debate whether we need a table or not, but I would prefer to face the audience, just a preference.
Jennifer?
I also prefer facing the audience, but without a table in front, it was really awkward just to be sitting there, especially if, you know, we
That's
had a
tribute.
long meeting trying to eat or anything. It was weird. So having a table would be nice.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So then I guess the question would be if we can't do a table with 6 feet apart, would the select board be inclined to do 3 feet and or something along those lines, or with the table, or would you rather not face the audience and be considered, I guess, a part of the audience, similar to how the school committee does it? Carter?
We'll do our best to work out a table solution in some fashion, Mr. Chairman.
Well, however, it ends up being is going to be fine, but that's just a preference that we're stating.
Okay.
So,
That's right. That's right.
Sounds
Exactly.
good. Okay, so then I guess the select board stipends. I've never really been for them, and I actually made a motion which was defeated at town meeting to eliminate the stipends for the select board. It was a wonderful introduction to town meeting for me. So I don't know if people maybe want to revisit that or whatever, because like, in all honesty, if I'm looking at it, it's like $400. It gets reported as a W-2 and it gets taxed state and federally. And so I guess at the end of the day, it's like a nice gesture, but not necessarily significant. Unless anybody has, or I guess maybe that's me being a terrible person and telling people what they should or shouldn't take. But Diana or Jennifer, Diana first and then Jennifer.
Yeah, the stipend doesn't mean very much to us, but if we had if a person were on the select board who had children, and if the meetings were in person, perhaps that money would be important in terms of babysitting. Wes is shaking his head. Maybe it doesn't even begin to cover it. I don't have a problem not taking it. I just feel that if we have it there, then just constantly, agreeing not to take it doesn't make sense either. Either we do away with it or we take it, one way or the other. That's kind of how I feel it. We should follow it. If I'm fine with doing away with it, but just to keep voting not to take it every year seems kind of silly.
For people's context, babysitting is at about $20 an hour for a cheap babysitter. And so after taxes, even let's just say you're in the lower, like the lowest bracket, that's like 15% off the top, and you're left with like $300. So we get like maybe 2 meetings babysitting paid for. And then you have to then wait for the additional W-2 for your to file your taxes. It's kind of a...
Oh my goodness, you're making this so complicated. All right. Well, then maybe that's the case for raising the stipend. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, philosophically, I'm not a stipend person. I feel like we volunteer for our own reasons. I have no problem with other boards taking their stipend. I don't have a problem with that at all. I happen to think that this year with the budget is not a year for the select board to vote. So I would make a motion that the select board not take stipends this year.
So is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. John, is your hand in discussion of that motion?
I raised my hand only because I agree fully with Jennifer and with Diana that I don't think we should take the stipend this coming fiscal year. And I think we should look at whether or not we should continue to have the stipend if every year we vote not to take it, we've reduced it dramatically, and I think it's to the point where it should just be eliminated. I don't think that's the motivation for people running. I think
I would even be amenable to moving it to the town hall budget for events and gratitude, because that way it's not necessarily taxed at the state and federal level, as when it's dispensed to individuals as a stipend. And so we can reinvest that in the town. Becky? Oh, hold on. We'll do less, the Becky then less than John.
Oh, can I talk? I was going to just say, it's all over the place this year. School committee opted to take, Board of Health opted to take, Library Board of Trustees opted not to take. So it's sort of all over the place. It's in Article 3, and that's where it's placed. It's probably still going to be there. It just won't be in your budget, because it's hard. I don't know, if you take it out of Article 3, then is it gone forever? I think it's a discussion to be had, but just so you know, it's all over the place this year.
Okay, Les?
I like what I thought Wes suggested, which was take the money that would have been a stipend and put it in the town hall line item for employee appreciation events.
Yeah, we've had one, I guess, so far, and I've heard really good reviews and feedback on that, and so I would like to see personally more of that.
I would agree with that
Can
as
do
well.
that. We can do that. We can take it and move it.
Well, I mean, the town hall budget hasn't been proposed yet, and so we could support that as a board, so we could.
Oh, adding it. Yeah. Okay.
It'll look like a big increase, but we explain what happened.
Right.
Yeah. So we have the motion on the table to forgo the stipends this year. And so if there's any other discussion, we could make a subsequent, or I guess, I don't necessarily know if we need a motion to recommend this to Carter, but he's shaking his head no. So, but that would, I think we have some support for that. Okay. So is there any other discussion about declining the stipend?
Nope.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Les?
Aye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, I.
Diana?
Lupari, aye.
And Folks, aye. Okay, and then we have the proposals for annual town meeting warrant articles. I'm wondering, is this part of the capital or just additional warrant articles as well, Carter?
This is just additional items. If the board had anything on its radar screen that it thought it might want to propose, either as amendments to the bylaws or additions, these are things we would need to get to work on very quickly. These are not changes to the personnel administration plan. That's in the next item. These would be in your general bylaws. If there's something on a board member's mind that we need to get to work on sooner rather than later.
We have John and then Diana.
Yeah, so I've been attending a lot of the FinCom meetings. There's a lot of very good work being done, a lot of hard work being done. There seems to be a lot of there doesn't seem to be a set rule for when we put things on warrant articles, okay, especially when it comes to spending money, especially when we look at capital items, okay. I think we should look at either a bylaw or a policy for setting a dollar amount for if it's a dollar amount, above a certain dollar amount, it should be on a warrant article. It could be in the consent agenda. But I think we need some consistency in the town because we don't have that right now. Okay. The concept that it's an operating item because we spend it every year, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because if we needed a new fire engine every year for $800,000, we would say, oh, well, that's an operating item under our current views and policies. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Yet when we needed to buy something for the DPW that cost $12,000, we said that had to be a warrant article. There were discussions at FinCom that something might cost $5,000, and the statement was that should be a warrant article. So let's get some consistency here. So I think that we either owe it as a policy that this board can create, or we need to put something in front of at town meeting and have people vote on it. I'm not sure that that needs to be a bylaw. I think that that's something that can be done as a policy. But I feel strongly that we should consider that because it reflects what the citizens said at last year's town meeting. When they became aware of an expense for a vehicle of $55,000, they rejected that expense, not because of the expense, but because that it was being done as an operating item and it was not really being transparent.
Or I guess I would just caution from speaking on, I guess, the will of voters. Yes, they removed it from the budget in terms of individual preferences. Okay, I can't make a definitive definition. Okay. I don't think.
All right. Well, I'm just in the interest of transparency, which everyone seems to want. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Diana?
Yeah, I would like, obviously, it's not on the agenda today and it's going to take a very fulsome discussion, but we are in the process of attempting to solidify the procedures around how we do things in Boxborough, especially vis-a-vis our town administrator. and not necessarily the current interim, but moving forward. And one of the things that really needs a very solid look at is our procedures surrounding how our budget is created, who creates it, how it is handled. And that specifically goes to the possibility of making changes to the Finance Committee bylaw. And that would definitely be a warrant article. There is a way to proceed on that, I think, that might involve a committee to look at that wording and so forth to make some changes. But I really do think that the budget needs to have a path moving forward, a procedure. So I would really recommend that we have a full discussion on that item at a further meeting, perhaps after the special town meeting, we can address that question. So I'm just putting that out there for further discussion down the line. Put it in everyone's minds as a possibility.
Okay. Les?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the dollar limit for a capital item. Aside from the rather special case of recurring capital items, i.e. like a police cruiser, I believe we do have a dollar number for that. And it's been $5,000 for quite a few years. I don't recall whether that's simply a policy or an operating practice of the Finance Committee or an agreement between the Select Board and the Finance Committee, but it's been $5,000 for a long time, as I remember it.
Yeah, I think it's more of like an institutional knowledge. And I think what, if I'm not mistaken, John was looking to either codify that in a policy and hopefully not a bylaw, because that would be really hard to change.
Yeah, I mean, so just to find out, let's make sure it's not already codified somewhere. I don't know whether it is or isn't, but it's certainly been a practice.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yeah, as far as John's comment, I'd be willing to look into any kind of policy change as long as, like Wes said, not doing it as a bylaw. I think that would be restrictive. But, you know, there are many items in our operating budget that are probably over $5,000. So to call all of them out seems a little bit restrictive, and it could really complicate town meeting. Everything in the budgets is published ahead of time, so I'm not sure that that's necessary. And as far as Diana's proposal about the FinCom budget, I think, you know, she raises some points, and I think she's not the only one who has that concern. So rather than addressing that as a potential change at this year's annual town meeting, given that we have an interim town administrator and some limited staff at town hall, if she would like to pursue that, I would just suggest, Diana, maybe doing it as a sense of the meeting on whether we do something going forward, and rather than making it a change at this point, and then, you know, set up a committee and get some really good feedback and then present that back. So that's my suggestion.
John, or are you looking to, okay, so hold on,
No.
just to keep the conversations germane. Diana, do you want to respond or?
Yeah, I just want to respond. I understand your point, but I feel very strongly that this is an issue that needs to be settled in a more specific way moving forward, because we will be bringing in a new town administrator. I think one of the things that this community really needs to have a real discussion about and an understanding about is how we're going to move forward as a community, how we want our government to operate, and how all of us fit into that procedure. Right now, it's a very loosey-goosey kind of situation with half policies, half procedures, half bylaws, not bylaws written years and years ago. I mean, it's all over the place. So trying to get it down a path where we make a decision as to how we are going to operate as a town moving forward. There's a very deep, basic issue about that needs to be discussed. And the Finance Committee bylaw is just one example of that. And certainly, as I said, we would have this discussion in a more fulsome way at a later date. But I would hope that we could come to some decisions as opposed to putting it off and keep delaying those discussions. That's all.
John?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I do think we need to, I would not look at a bylaw. I would agree with you. That's too difficult to put in place and it's even more difficult to change. But I do think we should really take a look at the policy in terms of what do we call out for a capital item? What do we consider a capital item? And at what point should it be a separate warrant article, and how can we improve transparency? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other comment or less?
Very quick comment. I mean, yeah, as we engage that topic going forward, I mean, we ought to apply some principles from the world of accounting and finance and call capital things which meet the test of what a capital item actually is. Is something that the IRS would recognize as an asset that can be depreciated. It's not an expense item that occurs on a yearly basis. So just make sure we are consistent with practice. $5,000 to pay for heating is not a capital item.
Yeah, no, Wes, I agree. I think that's a great way to look at it, is something that the IRS considers that can be depreciated should be a capital item. That's how the IRS looks at it. Okay?
No, I think that
makes sense.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Seeing no other hands raised, we'll move on to the next item regarding the personal administration plan and their recommendation for the 1.9% COLA and steps. Diana? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to make a motion that that this board accept the 1.9 COLA and steps as proposed by the Personnel Board for this year's upcoming fiscal year, beginning in July 2022.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about this? Nope. Okay. And then the proposed amendments was, hold on. Just for people's, your motion did not include the proposed amendments. Is that correct, Diana or John or Carter?
No,
sorry.
it's not. It's just about the COLA for the moment.
I would suggest that you split the issue, taking a vote on Diana's motion, and then we can have a general discussion and a straw poll of the board on possible amendments to the personnel administration plan.
Sounds wonderful. Okay. Any other discussion regarding this?
So repeat then what Diane's motion becomes, please.
It was just to accept the 1.9 COLA and steps as proposed by the Personnel Board.
Just a question, has the FinCom voted on this yet?
I believe they did.
Becky?
Yeah, we did, and we supported it, and all the budgets already have it worked in.
Thanks.
Any other discussion, comments, questions?
But just to be clear, so you said not 1.9% COLA and steps, you means the ordinary and traditional step
Yes.
amount, step to step, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hearing no other discussions, we'll do the roll call vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, aye.
Diana?
Lupari, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
And folks, aye. Okay, and so I'm guessing that, or not guessing, but this next section was for, is there any other proposed amendments, I guess, in terms of a recommendations? And so I know that in the past I've made some, such as increasing maternity and paternity leave as we try to do that. One of the other things I think that has come up in transient discussion is allowing vacation based on commiserated experience or like industry experience. And one other thing that I would also like to see is the modification or I guess the terminology change of requiring degrees and or certifications to relevant or I guess or equivalent experience because as we find that we need more people. I think the classic applicant may be changing, and so I think that we should adapt with that to make it as permissible as possible, because it is also easier to it's a lot easier to not necessarily reject or deny candidates, but it's a lot easier when you have candidates in front of you rather than when you have nobody and people not applying because of the strict requirements. John?
Yeah. So Wes, I agree with you completely. I mean, the market is changing. The dynamics of hiring is changing. We need to have that flexibility. And so I agree with you fully.
Are there any other, are there any other comments, questions, or Jennifer?
Yeah, I agree as well. And also, Carter has mentioned in the past a sick leave bank, which I think is another thing to pursue. I think anything that we can do to be progressive about, supporting our employees. I know when last staff meeting I attended, Carter specifically asked staff for recommendations. I know one of the things Cheryl, I think, brought up was giving all employees access to the transfer station. I mean, I think there are a lot of other non-monetary benefits that we can offer staff that will, make it a more attractive place to be. So, and I'm not sure about the special merit awards. I guess I need to give that a little bit more thought or talk to employees about that, because I know sometimes those can be, a little bit difficult if they're perceived as being political. I'm not against it. I just feel like it might be something that each town administrator might want to assess the staff. So, all right, thank you.
Diana?
Yes, just very quickly, I'm in agreement with doing all of these things, anything that can be really helpful for the retention, not just the recruitment, but the retention of our employees. And so I'm assuming that what we're being asked tonight is just to give a general heads up that we want this to be pursued in a more specific way. So I'm totally in agreement with that. I'm assuming there's no vote on anything specifically tonight. Unless I'm wrong about that.
Carter?
No, there was no specific votes being requested, simply an indication of general support, or more importantly, an opposition to an idea, so that we could develop language. You wouldn't develop language on things for which there was clearly no support. So we will proceed to develop language on the pro rata sick vacation and holidays, a sick leave bank, some measure of maternity, paternity leave, equating vacation, being able to establish an award of vacation upon hire, more related to experience overall than to tenure with the community. We did talk with the personnel board when we met with them last week about trying to establish, sort of ahead of time. When we say 2 years of an associate's degree plus 3 years of experience, what's the substitution ratio going to be, so that it's known ahead of time and it's not being done, sort of out of thin air in the moment. And we'll circle back to them on that. I think that'd be, sort of a great policy rule or procedure that they would develop and then submit to the board, perhaps as an amendment to the hiring policy. I'll get Jennifer some examples of the special merit award, and we'll put that one at the bottom of the pile. But those are the things that I've heard out of tonight that we would begin to develop language on. Unless, sort of last call, unless there's an objection, we'll drop one of these and won't work on, you'll see the language. You'll have to decide whether or not to put it on the warrant. We've worked with the personnel board to have their public hearing and be ready for the final warrant. But those are the things that I'm gathering out of prior meetings and this evening. And Jennifer, we'll get you some information on the merit.
So we'll have Jennifer list, and then I also have a few additional items that either can be or maybe for future consideration as well.
All right, quickly, just on the maternity, paternity leave, just making sure that it includes adoption. And another thing that is, I've been reading a lot about too is leave for people suffering pregnancy loss. So that's another thing to possibly consider, because that can be something that people need to take time off for. So thank you.
That's a good addition. Les?
Yeah, I think it's very good to us to think about things that can help us attract and good talent and retain and good talent. I'm wondering whether we have a sense of what is the general trend in the towns we like to compare ourselves to or think our comps are. Do we have a good sense of what other towns are doing on these very topics? Have we done any kind of formal sensing? Have we got input from consultants? I'm just wondering what we know about what's out there.
From my preliminary search, looking at the town's hiring for positions, because when we have like a new posting, I also look at other towns to see kind of who we're competing with. A lot of people are, municipalities are kind of slow to respond or slow to react, I guess. And so I don't think that they're competing, I guess, as much as with commercial, because you see commercial, like today, even Amazon announced that they're increasing their base salary or their top salary from 160,000 to 350,000. And before I left VMware, I know that they were then doing bonuses and promotions every 6 months rather than annually. And so we don't necessarily have that ability because of the way that we go to budget and all of that kind of stuff. And I think other municipalities are facing similar hardships, and not necessarily. However, wouldn't also say that they're necessarily being creative, I guess, or trying to approximate the competitiveness of commercial industry. So if that, maybe Carter and Rajan or Cheryl have more insight into that as well.
The most common of the items on this list tonight are the pro rata vacation, sick and holidays for your regular part-time people, because so many communities do rely upon them, as do you, to fill the critical gaps here. And secondly, the sick leave bank. After that, Rajan may know a bit more about your region, certainly than I do. But after that, I think, this idea on the vacations, the maternity, paternity, adoption, pregnancy loss, the special merit award, those I think you'd find relatively few and dispersed across your peers. So you've got a blend of here on this list of a couple of fairly widely used concepts, and then some concepts that are adopted with a wide dispersion across others. We're not as nimble on the public sector side as on the private sector side, in part because we have deeper unionization across the municipal sectors now, and it's a rather hidebound approach, backwards looking. It's not as forward looking, and in part because we're really steeped in opposition to change, if you will. No disrespect, it's a fact of life. It is difficult to get communities to look at protocols that have stood well, have done okay by them for years, to understand how quickly things are changing around you. But I think this is a good place to start. I think it's a good list of items to have a better discussion on as we develop more specific language.
Yeah, so I guess one other thing that I would have floated is either creating a fixed stipend, so like we can start at like 2,500 or 3,000, or even going up to 5,000 in terms of like student loan repayment for some people, because we have as we're recruiting newer people, there are means of repaying the loans directly, and not necessarily giving that as a disbursement, and or using that as allowing people to take accreditations and or classes to further their ability to perform their jobs and or expand into new roles within town. And so that is one other opportunity, I guess, that we could try to figure out, possibly, maybe not necessarily for the first round, but maybe something for the future. But one of the things that I do see the private sector doing is starting to address a lot of these student loans. And because I know teachers get loan forgiveness, but this is not necessarily like, they don't do that for public sector either. But it's just a small and fixed benefit that may attract people. So, any other comments or ideas or thoughts? Okay. On to the next one. I don't think we have any old business per se. No. Nope. Okay. So we have the select board reports and the town administrator. John?
Yeah, so I've attended a number of the FinCom meetings. They're doing an awful lot of hard work. The meetings are long. I give them a lot of credit for how much time they're spending. Typically, they start at 6:30, and lately they've been finishing at around 10:30 or 11. The RecCom had a meeting last week. I couldn't attend because it was the same time as a FinCom meeting. However, I did hear that they are having a cost issue at Liberty Fields that they're working on. And this cost issue is due to the fact that the state has changed some of the regulations associated with what the subsurface has to be for certain play areas. And it's primarily to protect individuals if they have a fall. So in the past where they could use wood chips, now they need to have more of a rubber type of sub base that protects individuals from falling. So we're looking into that. I know that they're also looking at trying to pursue additional funding sources. So I'll keep you posted as I get more information. And I know that they put a great deal of effort into hoping to have Winterfest. And unfortunately, we got more snow than they could use and we had to cancel. But I want to thank them for all the hard work they put into getting it ready. Thanks.
I'm sorry if I jinxed it with my announcements last time. Okay. Jennifer?
Yeah, I know a lot of us have attended a lot of the MMA meetings. Diana and I attended one about open meeting law. And I just wanted to say I'm remiss that I have not sent out the memo to Carter to include in our next packet. But Diana mentioned about the roll call votes. So there are a couple other things that I think we might need to change our practices for just to make sure we're in compliance. And I just want to let you know that's coming. So that's it.
Thank you. Sorry, so we also have, we have 2 surveys out right now, one for the Library Board of Trustees, and then also one for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And so I just also wanted to reiterate that from our announcements earlier. Les?
Yeah, a few things. One is that the building committee will be meeting on Wednesday. We have got a draft of a RFQ as request for qualifications for a consultant to do an independent review of the space needs study that was done in 2015 to see if we can come up with a go forward set of specifications on what to do for the next phase. So that's work in process. We'll be discussing it again at our meeting on Wednesday. I've kind of had a conversation with Rajan about some of the intricacies of going through the procurement process for that. So there's been some motion. The Water Resources Committee will be meeting on the 15th of February. I am still waiting to hear from them whether they will be able to come to that meeting. When I say come to the meeting, of course, I mean by Zoom, and present their data on the PFAS analysis that was done both in the private well program that you all heard about some months ago, as well as the public well water supply data that has been collected. I know they're behind on cranking through the tons of data they've been collecting all over the Commonwealth over the past several months. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to make the meeting, but I expect to hear within the next few days whether they will or will not. And I will let you all know if that's going to be on the agenda for the February 15th meeting. Let's see, just a few days ago, there was a MMA meeting that I heard about sort of accidentally when I attended the planning board meeting to hear about what was going on with the Gutierrez property on Adams Place. I think Diana might have been at that meeting and others as well, I don't know. But I stuck around for the rest of the agenda and learned about the MBTA commuter communities and the new Chapter 44A, Section 3A law, which I don't want to get into a lot of detail here, but and it goes by a name such as a housing choices law or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But basically, it's a new section of the law that's on the books now that requires towns to designate certain areas of the town by zoning that would allow dense multifamily housing by right. And when I say dense, I mean dense. The kind of density they're talking about is denser than, say, Boxborough Meadows in its densest part, denser than Paddock Estates. So they're talking serious density, and there are some guidelines about that that are out for public comment and review. So there's a lot of things in motion. It's not all settled, but it's moving in the direction of something that we do need to pay attention to. So what are the consequences of this? If a town does not adopt these changes or the zoning change, it could be precluded from access to certain state grants and funds. A lot of it's related to housing, but some of it's related to infrastructure. For example, the kind of fund that allowed us to do the sidewalk improvements, if we did not meet the new law, we would not be able to even apply for those kinds of funds. And there could be some other sticks as well as carrots in this whole mix. So it's something that we need to pay attention to, I think. And this board is the responsible board for responding to the state according to a format that they have advertised. And it's a lot of detail to get on top of. It was not even on my radar screen, I tell you that. I mean, I heard about this a year ago and thought it did not apply to us, but it turns out that it does, in my opinion. Diana has, I think, been studying this some. I've talked to Cindy Markowitz on the planning board who has studied it. So I think maybe the three of us might have a conversation and bring back some thoughts for this board to think about how we're going to address our collective responsibility to provide input to this process. There are some deadlines we have to be mindful of. We have to have a public hearing and input process by March 31st, and we have to provide input by May 2nd in written form to the state. Whether or not we actually have anything understood by then is another matter, but there are some deadlines we have to adhere to. So all I can do is stay tuned. It's something new that's come our way that we have to deal with.
Jennifer and then Diana.
Yeah, just quickly, the research that I've done into a little bit of this, Les, and obviously we can't discuss it much because it wasn't on our agenda. I have two questions that I'm not sure who can answer. One is, does the land or does the housing option, does that have to be purchasable? Because with Paddock Estates, I believe those are all rentals. And so I don't know if the density qualification includes rentals and or home ownership or a combination, or if there's any restrictions there. And the last is just or the other question is just about making sure we're cognizant of any kind of land takeover that any rezoning would do. So if somebody has a large quantity of land and they were planning on developing it for a certain purpose or keeping it undeveloped if we then zone it in a certain way. I just want to make sure we're being cognizant of, their rights.
Yeah, there's lots of things to track there. And let me be clear that the requirement of the law is not to build anything. It's merely to put in place the zoning district or the district under zoning that would allow it. Whether or not it ever actually happens or not is not a mandate of that law. There's no mandate to actually build housing. And the housing that could be built would be subject to the usual issues and constraints for water and public safety and those sorts of things. It does not require units to be affordable as in the 40B sense. And I don't know the answer to whether or not they need to be ownership units or whether rentals account as well. Diane may have some thoughts about that, but those are the kinds of things we need to understand.
Yes, I do. I believe rentals do count. And actually even mixed use counts. Commercial with apartments, et cetera, or home or condos up above. The other part that I just wanted to mention is that while the density is 15 units per acre, that density doesn't mean every acre has to be 15 units. So you could, for example, take Boxborough Meadows, and even though the density might be at 8 units per acre, but somewhere else you have another parcel which could allow 20 units per acre. It's the average of all the 50. Right now it's about acreage. 50 acres is what we're talking about. And that 50 acres has to have an average density of 15 units per acre. However, the most important part here, aside from all of these current issues, is that we are in a position right now to possibly affect the draft regulations in terms of their turning into permanent regulations. And I believe Carter is very well aware of this, and it should be on our agenda probably after the special town meeting, where we can talk about what we might want to give as our input to the state in terms of how we feel those regulations can be impacted. And obviously we want to look at Boxborough and the kind of town that we are and what would make more sense. For example, below a certain population and below a certain number of units, existing units, could we perhaps work off 30 acres versus 50 acres? Because the minimum number of units right now is 750, and that is basically 10% of a normal town. So that would be a 7,500 person unit.
Or available buildable land, because we have a lot of wetlands. It's somewhat complicated, but I guess I don't want to go into it in great depth here because really we're not supposed to be talking about it. But the fact of the matter is we do have to be aware, and I would recommend that everybody, the MMA webinar is up on the site. So we can get, if you didn't attend it, you should really listen to it and have a better understanding, because when we talk about what we want our input to the town, we want to be clear and have a general working knowledge in our next discussion for all of us on the board. So I really recommend that you go back and take a look at the webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank Diana for pointing out about the webinar, which was very helpful, actually.
John?
I just had one last comment. Once we get ready and have an idea of what we'd like to say, I think it would make sense for Boxborough to work with some of the other communities that are represented by our representative in the House and our state rep and our state senator, so that we could get a number of communities with similar issues and similar ideas and present that to them so that they recognize that a large portion of their political base wants this. And that's just my own thought. I know we've done that in the past, and I think that's probably the most effective way to try to make any changes to any documents at the State House. Thanks.
Carter?
I have directed Simon Corson to try to bring one of the state officials from DHCD via Zoom out to a meeting that we would offer the community at large. and certainly the select board, the planning board, and the housing boards, to explain to everyone what the regulations are and ask questions, and coming out of that meeting, hopefully preparing a set of public comments submitted unredacted, unedited, and hopefully an agreed upon statement that could be issued by either a joint meeting or independent meetings of the planning board, the select board, and the housing boards, in an attempt to share with the state concerns that you have, suggestions that you have. We talk about you can't change it. Well, you'll probably never make this law go away, but you can change it during the comment period. And it's not spot on, but the example I've used is during the comment period on the ARPA rules, people objected strenuously to the calculations that had to be used for the lost revenue. Setting aside whatever you think of the merits, in between the interim rule and the final rule was a dramatic change. You no longer had to do the calculations unless you wanted more than $10 million. There was a group of communities that exercised the submission of their comments, and they were taken seriously. So we're going to try to get that done by the end of February, such that the boards, the staff can work to try to craft a joint statement that takes into consideration everyone's comments and concerns and suggestions. I also don't want to lose sight of the legislation says, and it's not completely clear, that at least 10 acres of the land should be within 1/2 acre of the nearest transit station. You don't have any land within 0.5 miles of the transit land. Yes, you're an MBTA community because the MBTA comes through your community. So how are you going to deal with that? Certainly, it would be folly if the idea is economic development and sustainable environment to suggest putting more housing out at 495 so everybody can get in their cars to drive to the Littleton train station. That just doesn't make good economic or environmental sense. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I do want to impress upon everyone the need to be involved in the process and to try to influence the process at the rulemaking stage. And then once you know what the final rules are, you can lay out your agenda for going forward and make the decision that's right for Foxborough, knowing what those final rules and regulations are that you would have to comply with. I spoke with Simon on that today. We're trying to do this on relatively short notice. We are struggling to get someone to participate and do this. We may have to rely upon the MMA webinar and the best advice that we can give people from staff, but we are working our way towards requesting you to submit comments.
Thank you. Any other reports or updates? Nope. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So Diana moved it and Jennifer seconded it. Hoping there's no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote. Diana?
Lepari, aye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Jennifer?
Campbell, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
And Folks, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Adjourned.